Franklin, son of Franklin and Carol, and I request the ancestors and also the presence of the elders permission to speak to the village. Do I have any octogenarians in the room? Septuagenarians? Any of the elders? Speak up. Thank you. How y'all doing, Hotep? I got some notes here. I got to put my glasses on. You know I'm a senior citizen now, so I'm going to put the best part of 55 on my face so I can see these things. Again, let me just start out by saying welcome to the 6th annual KEMET in the Desert series. And again, what a day, what a day. As we look forward, as I request information, I first want to welcome everybody to the 2019 Black History Month here in Las Vegas. To my Muslim brethren, Assalamu alaikum. To my Buddhist family, Namaste. To my Jewish family, Shalom. To my Wakanda tribe, Woo! To my Rasta villagers, all praises due from the God of the Most High. To my fellow Christians, won't he do it? That's right. To my LGBT community, hey y'all. To my extraterrestrial brothers and sisters and cousins out there, may the force be with you. And to the rest of your family, what's up? All right, here we go. Welcome, 2016. We are in 2019. We have been oppressed in these lands for almost over 400 years, because I'm sure it started before we got here. What a journey. Over last night and tonight, we would have paid path and respect to that glorious journey. See, for me, Black history doesn't begin with the Middle Passage. So without any further ado, I want to bring to the stage my friend, one of the greatest guys I know in terms of that thespian art of making us feel something, because that's what art is. It should make you feel something. Strap on your Black history. Under the upcoming days, it's going to be harder to fortify yourself if you don't have knowledge. Get knowledge, people. Spread love and stay Black. I'm Franklyn G. I'm one of the executive producer of The Breakdown. Wednesdays nights 6 to 8. Like It Is Radio, 10 to 11. All on your public radio station, the people's best. We are one. KCEP FM. Enjoy your Black History Night. I turn you over to the MC, Mr. Oscar Robinson. Thanks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 6th annual KEMET in the Desert Black Weekend 2019, baby. A Nia and Platinum production. I'm Oscar Robinson, your host. Good evening. The word Nia is Swahili. It means purpose. And one of our purposes is to enlighten and awaken the community, and we will certainly do that tonight. We have a great show for you. You know, as Black people, we feel the rhythm of the jungle. And to illustrate that tonight, it's Ola BC African Drum Ensemble. America, you've stolen everything from us. Our names, culture, you even stole us. America, you say we are free, but when I look at our conditions, we can't be. America, you ain't done nothing for me, but made me a zombie by the KEMET in the Desert players. America, I say to you with a strong conviction, you plagued our communities with all kinds of addictions, from sugar to your tail light vision. America, 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 I say to you with no hesitation, it's time for you to assume the formation. So sit back and relax, because you are now enrolled in KEMET in the Desert University. KEMET means black, and the blacker the college, the sweeter the knowledge, baby. Let's get ready to rumble! No introduction. Ola BC African Drum Ensemble. Give it up.
lot of things in this community. I make sure that as long as I have these opportunities to talk to city council and use the platform or the radio station, that we get some kudos from our folks. So today, the city proclamation is for Brother Asani. Today's brother, I petition the city. Yeah, go ahead. This brother has been drumming and instructing drumming and a master percussionist for over 20 years right here in our community. So he's been, I ain't gonna tell all of you, Kwanzaa, Dr. King, Smith Center, Summer Arts Awards, Rio program. This brother be drumming. And I thought it's important that we give our people what they deserve while they're here. And I know this brother has a lovely wife who supports him, so right there is the paradigm that we need to set for the community. They work together to bring other children, not their own. Y'all hear me? They bring the village up. They bring the village up as a collective magistrate of what it should be, the perfect balance of man and wife. So again, I salute you both. And Mr. Brother Man, they was like, yo, who is this? And once I sent it to him, and I'm gonna be honest, I called some folks. But when I called Lois Tarkanian's office and submitted the paperwork, they called me back, said, this man? We know him. I ain't gonna say who didn't, but I'm gonna tell you, she said she did, and she helped me push through the city council, and today is Mr. Asani Day.
America! 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 What has America done for me? Nothing but made me a zombie. I don't know who I am anymore. No name, no culture, no knowledge of self. I try to be like I'm somebody else. They got our women out here acting like a bunch of Aunt Jemimas, Beulahs, Sapphires. Got our men out here acting like Step and Fetch, Willie Best, Manti Marlin. What has America done for me? Nothing but made me a zombie.
They always talking about something white, teaching us about some Mary had a little lamb. Mary was white, the lamb was white, and what about old Snow White? Old Mother Hubbard went to the cupboard to give her poor dog a bone. That's a lie. She gave that dog a steak and gave the bones to Negroes. Neck bones, pig feet, ham hocks, chitlins, guts. Made us gut eaters, whiskey consumers, dope users, Uncle Tom jigaboos. That's what America's done for me. Made me a robot, a Frankenstein, a puppet. What has America done for me?
Nothing but made me a zombie.
If you are seeking justice in education, it is straight humiliation, frustration, and annihilation. What has America done for me?
Nothing but made me a zombie.
They teach us what's white is right. Everything we learn is white. English is
white.
Math is
white.
Science is
white.
History is
white.
What has America done for me?
Nothing but made me a zombie. America, America, why did you bring us here, America? America, why did you bring us here, America? America, why did you bring us here, America? America, why did you bring us here, America?
Formation, said firmly with no hesitation. We're not bothered by your condemnation. It's simply validation. And the very reason we're celebrating. This is the manifestation of a bloodline that births a nation. We're not offsprings. We're the foundation of the creation. When you sit on Mother Earth, you're drinking our libation. This is lyrical liberation. Queen Bee's black fist standing on Rock Nation. Oh, you want to be mad at something? Be mad at the blood on the hands of this nation. This is the reincarnation of a spirit that has no expiration. That old Negro spiritual salvation. That down south church band waving congregation. However, since you seem to need clarification, this It's for 40 acres and a mule, reparations for picking cotton in the field with no compensation, for not telling slaves about the emancipation, for telling Rosa to get in the back of your transportation. This is for Martin and Malcolm's assassination, for a racist system and an evil administration, for countless years of segregation, for Sandra Bland dead in a police station. This is for the raping of our black nation, for telling our brothers to assume the formation, for being in a system chained to probation, for every gun of suffocation. This voice is the reincarnation of everyone you have ever murdered with no damned justification. Now you bow down and assume the formation.
Talk to me. Alone in a room, it's just me and you. I feel so lost, 'cause I don't know what to do. Now what if I choose the wrong thing to do? I'm so afraid of disappointing you, so I need to talk to you and ask you for your guidance, especially today when my mind is so cloudy. Guide me until I am sure I open up my hopes and dreams are fading fast. I'm all burned out, and I don't think my strength's gonna last. So I'm crying out to you. I know that you're the only one who is able to pull me through. So I know I need to talk to you and ask you for your guidance, especially today when my world seems just a little cloudy. Lord, guide me until I'm sure I open up my heart. Oh yeah, yes I do. So show me how That's why I open up my heart, my heart, my heart. All I need to do is just hear a single word from you. Ooh, yeah. I open up my heart to you, to you. Just one word will make the difference in what I do. Guide me until I'm sure. I open my heart. Whoa, you just say one word, one word, one word, one word, one word. I open up my heart to you, to you. You're the lover of my soul, the captain of my sea. I may need a word from you. That's why I open up my
Hotep Village? All right, night school has begun. So y'all better get your mind straight. These two young men, the blue pill and the red pill, they were on the internet. I tried to make this year intergenerational because the knowledge that is being spread is not just at Morehouse, Harvard, Yale, CSN. It's being spread over the internet by a new group of intellectuals who discern information differently than we do, or that I have. They've been sitting with some of the greats. They know Jabari. They know the individuals. They sit with Baba Small. The way they interpret the information that they get, we need to make the interconnection. The blue pill and the red pill are two of the innovative thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and social activists of the Harlem. We the village, and they're part of our harvest. So let's welcome them properly again. The blue pill and the red pill, y'all.
Please give yourselves another hand. We are honored to be guests of your beautiful city, Magic City, Las Vegas, you know, the desert. This is not my first time out here. I began frequenting Las Vegas in the year of 2000. I believe that may have been my first trek down here. It was a rockaway, it was the magic show. By show of hands, how many people are familiar with the magic show in your city? Okay? That is a convention of clothing brands and clothing labels. You know, Big Cotton. This is where they come together and this is where they converge and make millions of dollars. All right? So my eyes were opened up at that event. And then I've come throughout the years, I've made treks back to the magic show. I actually even met the mother of my firstborn, my son, at the magic show. You know, so, and that son is the one who I attribute to steering me in a direction where I saved myself. I got out of my own way, but my son gave me purpose. Okay? A lot of us are in limbo sometimes until we find something that gives us purpose. Henceforth, why many of us are sitting in these seats, because we find ourselves on what is known as the path, right? Right. The path could be defined as the path of enlightenment. A lot of people call it being woke, or they attribute it to being conscious, right? But what it really is man, know thyself. The same thing that was etched into the stones thousands of miles away in Kemet. In the deserts of Kemet. Or hundreds of miles away in the Grand Canyon. Okay? Because I don't know if the family is familiar with the land that they reside in and how powerful this land is. And it precedes what has been done with these casinos and the fact that that became synonymous with, you know, big money or riches and wealth. Way before the Italian mafia set up these casinos in Las Vegas, this was the center of abundance, right? But like I said, many of us are on this path. This path is allowing us to wake up and see things differently than how it was sold to us, right? In the Matrix. Because according to the Matrix and the lies that they told us, you know, we don't come from anything. We haven't contributed anything to society, even during the months of what is known as Black History Month, the month that we're in. They always start our movie 3 hours in. Imagine going to a 5-hour movie, right? And you get inside the movie 3 hours and a half into the movie. Will you be able to understand the complexities of the movie, the plot twist, and who's the aggressor, who's the... you don't know anything. You're only going to be figuring things out. Right. So, we as a people are still trying to figure things out. Because we've been given our history, we've been given our culture, we've been given the story of who we are, our creation myth. 3 hours into the story. So what Brother Frank has been doing throughout the years, this is the 6th annual KEMET in the Desert. For that alone, please give it up and give that man a hand, please. When you look at the ambiance of the place that we're in, the settings that you find yourself in, this is a professional setting. Facts. We're in the home of consciousness, and we don't even have access to facilities with this amount of technology in 2019. But that hasn't stopped us from doing what it is that we have to do. That's right. So tonight, I don't want to be long-winded because we have a slide presentation and there's a time limit. Tonight we're going to do what Blue Pill was saying on the radio on the build-up to this lecture. We're going to bring water to the desert. Okay?
Facts. Facts. So the snow preceded us, but we actually have, you know, water in the form of information. You know what I'm saying? This is the water age. You know what I'm saying? The water age is about bringing forth a level of information which resurrects the dry bones.
That's right.
Why is Vegas magic? Vegas is at the bottom of the sea, right? In indigenous African traditions, Ifa in particular, Yoruba, it is synonymous with an entity called Olokun, okay? And that deals with, if you would correlate that to quote-unquote God, the most powerful deity resides at the bottom of the sea because that's where the treasures and the riches are at. Why so? Because mineral sediments sink to the bottom of the ocean, right? When ships sink, they say that the treasure goes to the bottom of the ocean. When the minerals sink, they sink to the bottom of the ocean. So the soot, or that black soil, is the most powerful part of that particular ocean, where the best part is, where things grow and they're the strongest at. So the magic is strongest there. So if Nevada or Las Vegas in particular is the bottom of the ocean, then it's a magical place for that very reason. So individuals have been able to come in to come here and tap into that magic and create, you know, $1 trillion industry on top of $1 trillion industries on top of $1 trillion industries. You know, but just because the family might have missed one wave, it doesn't mean that they've been locked out of everyone, because all oceans have superseding waves that come through it. So just the fact that you don't see water here does not mean that there's not currents and waves continuously flowing through.
That's right.
So we just want to bring forth some information that just gives you some backdrop and insight as to why, you know, this place is not only magical, but more so importantly, why you are the most magical people on the planet. You understand what I'm saying?
No doubt.
So, Kemet was one civilization, Egypt was another. You dig what I'm saying? So, we can give you the glorious history of who we was 3,000, 5,000 years ago. You dig what I'm saying? While we were in Kemet. But when Kemet got invaded and it became Egypt, then the Ptolemies took over.
That's right.
You understand? And we live in a country that has been fashioned, right? They have used the blueprint of what your ancestors laid forth in that desert over there to over here. But it's in the sense of the Ptolemy, so it's more Greek than it is Kemetic. It's more Egyptian than anything. And now the people who are the children of God are following somebody else. As those children were putting on blackface back then, following you. So let's get into this presentation.
All right. Blueprint 322.2. Exactly 10 years ago in the borough of Brooklyn, myself, Brother Red Pill, and my twin brother, I don't know if people are aware of that. This is my biological twin brother, not my brother. It's my brother. We've been in the womb together. We are identical twins. 10 years ago, we had the opportunity to do our first lecture. The name of that lecture was Blueprint 322. We were opening up for some of our brothers that are soldiers on the front lines of this conscious community. Brother that goes by the name of ASHE. By a show of hands, how many people know about the Kabbalah God, ASHE? Yes, indeed. All right. Black Dot, Brother Black Dot. How many people know about the master teacher of hip hop, master decoder, brother by the name of Black Dot? We did this hip hop lecture called Blueprint 322. Hip hop runs the world. When we did it, people were like, "What you talking about? Hip hop runs the world." You know, hip hop doesn't relegate global affairs. Hip hop is just some stupid culture out of the Bronx that people are utilizing to sell drugs and da 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 da. Right. So 10 years later, this is actually a prelude to the anniversary of that lecture that we'll be doing at the end of the year in November with the same people that were on the bill 10 years ago. So this is the prelude to that. This is Blueprint 322.2, Blackface to Blueface, or Black Faces to Blue Faces, okay? Because what my brother and I like to do is we love to touch on hot button topics and correlate those topics into a lot of other things. It's called synchromysticism. So one of the things that the mainstream media fails to do is they fail to give you the throughway, or they fail to build the synchronicity inside of the stories that keep popping up day after day, week after week.
They fail to show you the continuity or the thread that pretty much connects all of these stories together. They give you the story by itself, and they never build and give you the build up to the story, or saying this story is seemingly related to that story, or it's similar to that, or last year we was on, you feel me? So they don't do that. News media doesn't do that.
Henceforth, yes.
We come across and just put some of those pieces together just to show you that there's no separation.
That's right.
This is one long narrative.
Henceforth, the title New Media, meaning that we are utilizing a new angle, right? Not just to teach the news, but to pull back the veil. That's why the name Red Pill and Blue Pill are synonymous to what it is that we're doing. The same thing that you see in the Matrix is what we do in real life with the information, by decoding, by breaking it down, by unpacking it, by unveiling it. Because what is consciousness? The definition of consciousness is simply awareness, right? So if somebody makes you aware of something, does that not empower you to that situation? Because we're not going to get up here and start playing victimhood Olympics and whatnot and boo-hooing about what happened to us, because we know that we live in a reality. We know that we live on a planet of dualities. We know we live on a planet of negative and positives. We know we live on a planet of regeneration. Meaning, in layman's terms, niggas die every day, B. Okay? That's the cycle of life. But what we want to do is we want to empower you. We want you to take some of your power back that you may have given up unwillingly in the state of suffrage, in the state of an emotional wreck, because you are being programmed by mainstream media through a psyops, meaning a psychological operation where they're feeding off of your tears. You know, when people be like, yo, I'm drinking your tears, keep feeding them to me, right? You have a group of people who love to show you in your negative, lower, defeated state. Oh, they love to stand next to you at a rally while you're crying and boo-hooing and Big Mama is breaking down and whatnot, because certain people know how to feed off of your misery and your sorrow. They'll cry with you. Oh, keep it, let it flow. Let me get a cup so I can drink some more of these tears. All right? It's called, you know, for those that study the occult, Luciferianism. Brother Bobby Hemmett wrote a book on that. So let's get right into this lecture. I'm going to let the brother Blue Pill open up. We're going to be going back and forth, breaking down the information. Like I said, we're going to have to fly through this information, but you'll be able to retain the information that's being said. Okay?
Okay, so as the brother opened up, it's the 10-year anniversary of the initial introduction lecture that we did called Blueprint 322, where we explain how hip-hop rules the world, okay? So this particular slide will show you about 10 years later, that has been pretty much solidified through media, through the annals of media, right? The articles have come out, all of the scientific proof has been done, all of the numbers have been gauged and crushed. 2 years ago, they have declared hip-hop R&B as the dominant genre in the U.S. for the first time, okay? So they go through the entire consumption breakdown to show you who's consuming this particular music in its art form, what the ages are, and they give you the whole breakdown. Next slide, please. Okay? Scientists reveal secrets behind hip-hop's most complicated rhymes. Hip-hop is bigger than rock, says scientific study. Hip-hop is the most listened to genre in the world, according to Spotify analysis of 20 billion tracks. All right, so all of the science is there to pretty much co-sign what we've been saying about hip-hop being the most dominant force on the planet right now, right? Scientists just determined the most important genre of music of all time, okay? New study proves hip-hop is the most influential genre in half a century. Hip-hop is the most important genre of music to emerge in the last 50 years. So on and on and on and on. You know, as a people who, we were born from parents who grew up in Motown, baby boomers and what have you, and you know how powerful that music was. You know how much soul was put into the music. This town in particular was built off the back of many of the musicians that our parents listened to, whether they be jazz musicians, soul musicians, R&B, or what have you. You know, so they're saying that even though we know how important that music was, how positive and influential that particular music was, they're all agreeing. Scientists, not just social scientists, but scientists are saying, shit, well, hip-hop is more important than all of that.
So, on the evening news, when they were, you know, gleefully breaking down the negative things that were occurring within our culture, because keep in mind, we belong to a culture, and this culture, as Blue Pill is pointing out, is the dominant culture, not the dominant race on the planet, you know, not the dominant numbers. We're talking about a culture that's dominant in the superpower of the world. Not only in the superpower of the world, this culture has dominated other cultures and other superpowers. There's a valuation to that. A lot of answers to your problems are somewhere tucked within these headlines right here, but this is not what's sold to us. This is not what's told to us. You dig what I'm saying? They do not let you know, because remember, when we say that hip-hop is the most powerful culture, we're not talking about rap music, because some people may feel a little bit of, you know, they may feel, they may feel like that's not true. Like it's impossible for that to be. But when we say hip hop, we're talking about the culture. There's 5 pillars to hip hop. One of the pillars are being masters of ceremony, the poets, the griots.
Right.
And we're doing Kemet in the Desert Part 6, so it would be benign of me to not mention our brother Black Dot in his book, in his seminal book, The Matrix of Hip Hop. He broke down how hip-hop of today can be directly, it's almost like the brainchild of ancient Kemet, of high civilization. Here it is, you have one pillar of hip hop, dance, okay? When we go into all high civilizations of Africa, what was at the center of it? It was the dance. Then we go into the DJ, which who's in control of the drum, of the beat. When you go into any civilization, any high civilization, or the continent, or even in Kemet, how did they communicate? With the drum. Then you had the master of ceremony, the MC, the mover of the crowd, but that is the griot that we find in all high civilizations, or also in ancient Kemet. Then you have the other pillar of hip hop, which is the the artist.
Graffiti artist.
The graffiti artist.
Who is the scribe.
Who is the scribe. So we go to Kemet. Plane loads of us have been going to Kemet for hundreds of years to see what? The artwork carved into the walls. The same way that they get on buses and come into Harlem to see what? The artwork spray painted on the wall. We don't die, we multiply. Energy never dies, it only transmutates itself. So that's what we're pointing at when we talk about hip hop. We're not talking about the 10 songs that you might hear on the radio every day. We're talking about how you dress. We're talking about how you walk. We're talking about how you talk. We're talking about how you dance. All of the dances that you've been creating. We're talking about the fashion, the stuff that you wear and give life to that other industries are making billions of dollars. Just go to the magic show, you'll see for yourself. But it's time for us to be at these magic shows or have our own magic show, but let's continue.
Okay, so let's take a walk down, and actually do the knowledge as to what exactly hip hop is and why it has the effects that it does on the mind and the children and the people, okay? So how does rap music affect human emotion, all right? Hip hop has unquestionably become the defining soundtrack of streets. It's a genre associated with self-expression, rags to riches narratives, and has experienced its fair share of controversy. Hip hop details messages of both unity and division, and has been a backdrop for more than a few cultural movements. It's no wonder it often elicits deeply emotional responses from listeners. Perhaps because of this emotional impact, the genre has been popping up in some unexpected places, like therapy. In recent years, hip therapy is gaining traction amongst the medical community as a viable tactic for treating mental illness and cognitive disorders like depression and anxiety. Okay, so not only hip hop, but America is the twin pillars of America, which fuel the pharmaceutical industry of America, is depression and anxiety.
Facts.
In the 3-part collaboration, we are investigating the science behind how music moves us on a psychological, emotional, and physical level. Regardless of how you prefer your tunes, there's no denying that music is closely tied to the way you move through the world. Bose just released their best-in-class QC35 2 headphones with pioneered noise-canceling technology, which helped. They just sponsors of the goddamn study show. I'm not even gonna read their commercial. But although the term rap therapy was coined perhaps as early as the year 2000, to date, the most widely circulated study on hip hop and therapy was conducted out of Cambridge University in 2014. 2 researchers, psychiatrist Dr. Akeem Souley and clinical neuroscientist Dr. Becky Inkster from the university's Department of Psychology spearheaded the study. Hip hop, explained one of the researchers in a CNN article, had already impacted societal pillars like politics and technology, so why not medicine? The findings are further detailed by the researchers in the I'm not gonna get into all of this, right? Listening to music affects each of the 4 major lobes of the brain: frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital, in different ways. There is no set path per se through which music travels around the brain. It's more of a ping pong game of stimuli and reaction. The auditory cortex is responsible for discerning pitch and volume. In the amygdala and the cortex, part of the striatum, both process emotional reactions. Other parts of the brain that control movement, attention, planning, and memory also activate when you listen to music. The area of the brain called the superior temporal gyrus helps store templates of music you've listened to previously, which is why a person who has listened to the entire discography of a particular artist is likely to have more of an appreciation for the music than someone hearing it for the first time. So there's a lot going on beyond mere auditory processing. Researchers have yet to figure out the exact way music impacts the brain, but one thing is clear, it's complicated. Multiple researchers have noted a link between music and dopamine, but most studies agree that while there are commonalities amongst various genres and psychological responses, each person reacts differently to different musical stimuli. When it comes to hip-hop in particular, the science suggests there are strong ties to emotional as well as creative reserves, right? So what about rappers themselves? What happens in someone's brain when they lose themselves in the moment while freestyling? The National Institute on Deafness and Other Communication Disorders examined 12 professional rappers under an MRI machine. These rappers were asked to recite memorized lyrics as well as their own freestyle rhymes while they listened to an 8-bar track. The brain scans displayed interesting results. During the flow phase, that's freestyling, the rapper's brain actively displayed unique patterns in areas relating to motivation, language, emotion, motor function, and sensory processing. According to the scientist's interpretation, this suggests that the rappers actually enter something akin to an alternate state of mind while freestyling. The findings are similar to other studies on the improvisation of jazz musicians and suggest that the act of making music taps into complex creative reserves in truly astounding ways. Hip-hop as a genre has not historically had a close relationship with therapy, but this may be changing. I really gotta go through that. All right? So, the proverbial biblical phrase where they say, he was able to build, right, let's go to it. The temple was built in silence. It rose like an exhalation. No hammer fell, no ponderous axes rung. Like some tall palm, the mystic fabric sprung. Okay? So what they're saying in essence is that for artists like Biggie Smalls, take him for instance, right? Or Jay-Z, or Lil Wayne, they say I go into a booth and I don't write rhymes down, I write them in my head, I recite them on the microphone, and they become songs that terraform society. We're living in the dream that Biggie Smalls foresaw, but he never even wrote it. So he's creating worlds without even scribing them down. For someone who's not into music, it probably doesn't mean anything. But for someone such as myself and my brother that write lyrics, for you to step by and say, this man made this in his head, he didn't even write it down, they were freestyling these songs, right? And look at the impact that it's had. So these are truly extraordinary things that we often overlook because we don't understand the science of making music. Okay? And we don't really understand the whole aspect of what goes into the 4/4 signatures and the meters and how within this particular framework they are creating incantations, right? These rhymes are not just rhymes, they're actually spells. Why is 4/4 seemingly the default time signature for human music creation? Is this innate or learned? Most musicians seem to agree that a heartbeat is 3/4/6/8, and I would think that this is the most common rhythm in our lives. So how did 4/4 become our mental default, right? So the 4/4 meter, the most common meter in music is 4/4. It's so common that its other name is common time, and the two numbers in time signature are often replaced by the letter C. In 4/4, the stacked numbers tell you that each measure contains 4 quarter note beats. So to count 4/4 meter, each time you tap the beat, you're tapping the equivalent of 1 quarter note. So in hip hop, right, we have 16 bars, okay? And they all have to be constructed within a 4/4 meter beat. You dig what I'm saying? Go to the next one. And then we get into this whole aspect of how music is actually tuned in standard. The standard concert pitch is a 4/40 attunement. So let's read about what the 4/40 attunement is. Musical code control. The Rockefeller Foundation's war on consciousness through the imposition of A equals 440 hertz standard tuning. This article details events in musical history that are central to understanding and treating modern psychopathology, social aggression, political corruption, genetic dysfunction, and cross-cultural degeneration of traditional values, risking life on Earth. This history concerns the 440 Hertz standard tuning and the Rockefeller Foundation's military commercialization of music. The monopolization of the music industry features this imposed frequency that is herding populations into greater aggression, psychosocial agitation, and emotional distress, predisposing people to physical illnesses and financial impositions, profiting the agents, agencies, and companies engaged in the monopoly. Alternatively, the most natural, instinctively attractive, A equals 444 hertz, C5 equals 528 hertz, that's the heart frequency, right? That is most vividly displayed botanically has been suppressed. So they're saying, why not use the frequency that has the best resonance with nature? Botanically, they have proven that this particular frequency helps grow things in nature, right? It helps grow plants. It brings limp plants back to life. It's actually the heart frequency. That is the good vibrations that the plant kingdom obviously broadcasts in its greenish yellow display. Remedial to emotional distress, social aggressions, and more has been musically censored. Thus, a musical revolution is needed to advance world health and peace, and has already begun with musicians returning their instruments to perform optimally, impact audience beneficially, and restore integrity to the performing arts and sciences. Okay? Music makers are thus urged to communicate and debate these facts, condemn the militarization of music that has been secretly administered, and retune instruments and voices to frequencies most sustaining and healing. So we know that there was a war on actual live instrumentation. We know that they took instruments out of the schools. We know that hip hop was born out of the improvisation of the fact that we didn't have traditional instruments anymore, so we created them with whatever we had available to us. But we also know that hip hop became the force in which digital instrumentation got introduced to the world in a way in which, has taken over the world. And we don't know enough about that to see, well, how did that affect our DNA? If everything is so calculated and metered, right? Who, by a show of hand, knows about the artist Jay Dilla? So what made Jay Dilla such a force to be reckoned with is the fact that he was able to make his beats that were somewhat off of this particular synchronized meter, because the beat machine is perfect, right? But even heartbeats are imperfect. So what is happening in terms of terraforming society when everything is perfected to this particular pitch, which is in essence not a perfect pitch to begin with, okay? So this gives you the whole spectrum of what actually, because when we talk about numbers, or when I talk about numbers, I explain to people that there are many different variants that come with numbers, right? Numbers have corresponding colors. Numbers have corresponding frequencies. You dig what I'm saying? So for the people that know about my fascination with the number 44, I often correlate it and explain how, through numerology or this process of gematria, you can take a word and find out how that word has the same number. And then you can take a word over here and a word over here that are seemingly unrelated, but they have a number behind them, and you can show how they're connected, right? So with this particular number 440, the color of it is orange. It's orange and blue. Hence why those are the colors of the Empire State in New York, okay? But A440 is a 440 hertz tone that serves as the standard pitch for standard for musical pitch. A440 is the musical note A above middle C. And this just gives some of the history. In 1939, the International Conference recommended that the A above middle C be tuned to 440 hertz, right? I don't think we got to get into too much of that. That's just giving you the background, okay? And this is explaining, the whole different aspects of how the brain works, right? Left and right, all right? Let's go into the next slide. Now, when we're talking, like I said, when I'm talking about gematria, this is a way that you can take a word and deduce a number from it. It's alphanumeric. And in Hebrew, you have a letter system that correlates directly to a number system, right? And in the alphabet, right, or alpha beta, you have the same aspect where if you take a number or if you take a letter or you take a word, should I say, and you prescribe it a particular number, then you can crunch that particular word into a number and see how it connects and relates. So brain in gematria even equals the number 44. But when we go to the brain specifically and we look at what region of the brain controls music, right? Music perception and language, it's the 44th area of the brain, and it's called a Broca's area, okay? So together with the left hemisphere, BA45, the left hemisphere, BA44, composes the Broca's area, a region involved in semantic tasks. Some data suggest that BA44 is more involved in phonological and syntactic processing. Some recent findings also suggest the implication of this region in music perception. Recent neuroimaging studies studies show BA44 involvement in selective response and suppression in go-no-go tasks, and is therefore believed to play an important role in the suppression of response tendencies. Neuroimaging studies also demonstrate the area 44 is related to hand movements. So, you know, just like I'm doing right now, a hip-hop artist can't perform without actually putting some hand play in it. You know, was James Brown like this? Huh? Studies of chronic, all right. So once again, like I said, this is pretty much breaking down the whole aspect that the 44 area of the brain, or the Broca's area, deals with language, perception of syntax, you know what I'm saying, how you perceive what's being said to you, how you create dialect, you know what I'm saying, and how you're perceiving music actually. All right, so next. Do we have to go any other? Okay, so let's just get into some aspects of this particular number 44, because every number and everything has a plus and a minus, you know what I'm saying, or a positive and a negative, if you will. So structured power, assertive, rigid in administering ideas and beliefs, emotionally insensitive to others' shortcomings, can attach to appearance rather than real achievement, outspoken, critic of authority, forces social changes, abuses industrial power, uses money to control, passive, possesses good ideas but expects others to carry them out, distaste of personal discipline, silently critical and envious of successful people, expects people to respond to his or her ideas, unconscious resistance to real responsibility and use of power, harmonious, keystone and building of a group consciousness, well-trained mental abilities, trust the wisdom of our own inner authority, practical visionary, potential to create new modes of income and prosperity, combines artistic with practical, helps manifest empowerment. See, I'm the harmonious 44. God damn it. All right? So next. So yeah, this is just going through. Right, so area 44, speech, intonation, express emotions, articulatory complexity, tactile imagery, goals, sentence comprehension, word generation, syntactic, episodic, and working memory, linguistic fluency, grammar, and many more, right? So, next, so the area 44 in the brain is actually responsible for this whole freestyling apparatus that MCs employ. Now, when you look at masonry, when you look at the liberal arts, right, second to the highest order of masonry is music, right, and the highest is astronomy, right, and let's go next to the, go back, right, so this right here, when we break down the 7 liberal arts, right, we deal with the trivium and quadrivium, okay? In the trivium, the first 3 is dealing with grammar, rhetoric, and dialect. The next 4, the quadrivium, is dealing with astronomy, or music, geometry, arithmetic, and astronomy, right? Can you click on the next one? So I explain to people, when you're actually looking at a hip-hop artist, when you're looking at someone who's engaging in real time and freestyle, right? They are actually employing in real time all 7 liberal arts, what makes them the highest degree, quote unquote, Mason. So we get real spooky when we hear about masonry and hip hop, and we just understand what's being fed to us in terms of people telling you it's a conspiracy and Jay-Z is in the Illuminati or what have you, not understanding and overstanding that these young men are doing things with their innate abilities that no one else on the planet is able to do in real time, right? They are fusing all of these principles together. They have taken this quote-unquote bastard language that has been branded and put on us, and they have created the most beautiful art form, right? And they have exceeded the most scientific aspects of what Shakespeare couldn't even do with this particular language. You dig what I'm saying? Because if your daddy was rapping to your mom in Swahili, it just wouldn't sound the same. It just wouldn't. And that's how your ass got here. So we be very disrespectful to English, but that shit sounded real beautiful when Pops was rapping to your mother, making it possible for you to make your appearance. So even with the whole aspect of language within itself, language has 44 parts. There are hundreds of spelling alternatives that can be used to represent the 44 English phonemes. Only the most common sound-letter relationships need to be taught explicitly. The 44 English sounds can be divided into 2 major categories, consonants and vowels. All right? So these are the wordsmiths in hip-hop. These are the people who have taken a particular art form and utilized it in ways that it's never been utilized, who have been recognized by science as saying, look, in no other genre has artists come along and use this amount of words, right? We might just be stuck in this whole aspect of mumble rap, and we like, well, goddamn, when you hit an epoch in something, when you hit a crescendo, when you hit a high point, you're gonna get a low point too. So we've already went as high as we could, not high as we could possibly go, but we went high enough. We went higher than anyone else has ever went, right? With this particular artist, ASAP Rock, y'all don't even know who he is. He used 7,392 unique words, right? We don't even know who he is. So we don't give no credit to that. We don't value that. You think what I'm saying? These people is out here busting all sorts of records, doing unfathomable things. We don't value that. So now we got mumble rap, all right? The largest vocabulary in hip-hop. Rappers ranked by the numbers of unique words in their lyrics. Literary elites love to rep Shakespeare's vocabulary. Across the entire corpus, he used 28,829 words, suggesting he knew over 100,000 words and arguably had the largest vocabulary ever. I decided to compare this data point against the most famous artists in hip-hop. I used each artist's first 35,000 lyrics. That way, prolific artists such as Jay-Z could be compared to newest artists such as Drake. So, our artists have utilized more words than Shakespeare, right? We built more worlds than that in the modern era, okay? This is just getting into some more mathematics dealing with language formation, you know what I'm saying? But this is showing you, right, a calculated look as to what exactly this energy that's permeating, utilizing this musical frequency creates. So this is harmony. This is 432 hertz. This is what the heart produces, right? This is harmony, right? 440 hertz, that's disharmony. If anybody ever saw any pictures of Saturn, right? They show you the actual, the south poles and the north poles of Saturn's, the ones that generate the actual storms. And they even can show you, you can even hear what it sounds like. You can Google sounds of planets and they can explain to you with each, right? Because they're called spheres, music spheres. These spheres of bodies, they actually create tones, they actually create music, okay? And they call it the music of the spheres, of the connection and the correlation between how each one of these planets kind of vibe with one another. You understand? But this is the disconnect, or this is the very disruptive energy that's been created by the music that all of us love. It's not just hip hop is just tuned to a 440 hertz frequency. Everything that we've listened to past 1955, when the Rockefellers got involved, is tuned to this particular musical frequency. So it is continuously aiding and assisting in a disruption and a disharmony on this particular planet, right? So I think this part of the lectures where Red's gonna start taking over. All right, thank you.
So get up in the hand, please. All right. When we mention the word pop music, a lot of us have an image of what pop is, okay? This article explains how the what you know about pop changed in 2018, okay? This is not an arbitrary agglomeration of styles. This is pop 2.0. Music that comes from several different scenes, but works with its own distinct set of rules. It is the first time in decades that the playbook for pop success has been updated, and it has profoundly reshaped the sound of America. Previously, when artists from hip-hop, country, or hard rock were said to be going pop, that implied they were sacrificing something essential about themselves in exchange for something plastic and transitory. Pop was a softening, a compromise. Now, thanks to the largely frictionless internet, the evolution in how Billboard calculates its charts, accounting for streaming data in addition to sales and radio play, these styles top the charts in unfiltered fashion. Hip-hop almost completely dominates streaming. Latin trap and reggaeton thrive on YouTube. K-pop, the dominant sound of young South Korea, has become a live concert blockbuster and outrageously popular online worldwide. All of that has made for Billboard charts that look vastly different than they did a decade ago. And it sets the template for how all of pop music will sound moving forward. Okay? What pop means change depending on what angle you're looking from. It could be a descriptor of audience size, indicating something is popular, or it could be a genre tag, specifically a sound. But for much of the last 3 decades, these two definitions have effectively been one and the same. You know the sort: Katy Perry's Confetti Chair, Justin Timberlake's Light Feather Chirps, Lady Gaga's Exorbitant Theater, Taylor Swift's Guileless Guile, music that strives for gloss, pep, ecstasy, and spectacle, often an expression of whiteness too, a one-size-fits-all solutions. For a time in the 1980s, this kind of pop music, think of Michael Jackson and Madonna, was effectively monoculture, which is why the two meanings of pop have been so tightly tethered and so difficult to disentangle. But in the last couple of years, this framework has almost been completely dismantled, owing in large part to the widespread adoption of streaming. What were once regarded merely as pop subgenres, K-pop, Latin trap, melodic hip-hop, and more, have become the center of the conversation. So, everything is changing. Mumble rap is taking over, okay? Hide your kids, hide your daughters. Cardi B is at the dinner table. Gangnam Style is popping. Baby Shark is taking over, okay? This is just showing you how streaming has restructured the music industry, all right? This is the chart for how streaming works. 1 CD bought, right? Now it's 10 track downloads. So they'll count 10 track downloads for 1 CD bought. But 1,250 paid streams is now 1 CD bought. Oh, 3,750 free streams is now 1 CD bought. So you got to stream 3,750 times to be counted as 1 CD bought. Your record label is officially in the pimp business, okay? They might as well set up at the Bunny Ranch because they've been doing a good job at working these people on these labels, all right? The subcultures have taken over, all right? The Florida-Georgia line is kicking out artists that are becoming behemoths XXXTentacion, right? Lil Pump. This is the Florida, what they call the SoundCloud scene, all right? My dude, Kodak Black. That's this Florida Georgia line. That's what they're identifying as. They are on the charts. Atlanta is on the charts, right? This is what Middle America is rocking with. This is who they trying to be like. Okay? They like, oh, in Nebraska. Okay? So, y'all want to talk to me about blackface all day. You want to trigger us about somebody putting on blackface and trying to be like us. But we're in a culture now where they trying to be like us. And that's not an arrogant way that I say that. I'm just giving you the numbers. I'm showing you what they're reporting, that the subgenres, face tats, my niggas, okay? Grills, the twerkage is mainstream. It's being broadcasted all around the world though. The buffoonery, the coonery, the shucking and jiving, the Tatiana remix. That's being broadcasted all around the world. This ain't being broadcasted all around the world. We are living in the midst of the quote-unquote Aquarian age, or the intellectual revolution, or the information age, but they're broadcasting Tatiana remix in K-pop and Latin trap. People from other countries who are not doing well with their cultural exchange. Because once again, here we are, feeding a whole population our culture, but what have they exchanged? What have the South Koreans brought you lately, ladies? Because that Remy is not going on sale. The bundles ain't going on sale. Like, what are they giving back? You're creating industries. You are enriching their culture. They got K-pop. They got that from you. They got Latin trap. They got that from you. Where's the exchange? Right? It's called cultural exchange. I could go to China right now and get money for teaching them how to talk like I talk. Right? They get paid for teaching us Mandarin. There's an exchange taking place. You go in Japan and see them breakdancing and getting it in, you know what I'm saying? And doing the stanky leg, but you're like, hold on. What are you giving back to us? Where's the exchange? Who's hiring in Japan? I want to get off the block. Can I go over there and get some, you know what I mean? Can I tap in? So, I get big yins. We find ourselves in the middle of this thing. So, let's do a little bit of history lessons during Black History. Because apparently every year they got to reteach us like we don't know these things. Like America been asleep at the wheel forever. I got grandparents and great-grandparents, and they'll let you know that everybody knew what blackface was. But, you know, I'm going to give certain people the benefit of the doubt because we live in a new America, America that has opened up its doors to brothers and sisters from all around the world who look just like us. But when they come, they don't hit them with the dossier, with the orientation 101 about the history of who we are, our contributions to this land, the fact that we built the door that they may be walking right through. So, the stock characters of blackface minstrelly have played a significant role in disseminating racist images, attitudes, and perceptions worldwide. Every immigrant group was stereotyped on the music hall stage during the 19th century. But the history of prejudice, hostility, and ignorance towards black people has ensured a unique longevity to the stereotypes. White America's conceptions of black entertainers were shaped by minstrel shows, mocking caricatures, and for over 100 years, the belief that blacks were racially and socially inferior was fostered by legions of both white and black performers in blackface. So there are versions of blackface. It's not just one blackface. There's compartments, there's elements. One is Jim Crow.
There's levels to it.
There's levels to this shit, to this blackface. The term Jim Crow originated in 1830 when a white minstrel show performer, Thomas Daddy Rice, blackened his face with burnt cork and danced a jig while singing the lyrics to the song Jump Jim Crow. A zip coon, first performed by George Dixon in 1834, Zip Coon made a mockery of free blacks. Keep that in mind. An arrogant, ostentatious figure, aka an uppity Negro. He dressed in high style and spoke in a series of malaprops and puns that undermined his attempts to appear dignified. Right? He was a nigga with a check. Silent movies. The popularity of early film brought with it the propagation of racial stereotypes to large audiences around the world. Early silent movies such as The Wooing and The Wedding of a Coon in 1904, The Slave in 1905, the Sambo series. You got a whole Netflix binge series on the Sambos, right? From 1909 to 1911, and finally, to round it all out, The Nigger in 1915 offered the existing stereotypes through an exciting new medium. Well, goddammit, this was like how Netflix started. They was having a lot of rollouts, like they didn't even hide anything. The premiere of Birth of a Nation in 1915 marked a change in emphasis from the pretentious and inept Jim Crow stereotypes to that of the savage Negro. Keep that term on your frontal lobe. I said the savage Negro. 20. All right? In D.W. Griffith's film, the Ku Klux Klan rescues the South, and Southern women in particular, from savage blacks who have gained power over whites with the help of Northern carpetbaggers. Griffith later admitted that his film was designed to create a feeling of adherence in white people, especially white women, against colored men. Race movies. Northern blacks responded to Birth of a Nation by producing their own movies. Race movies were all black African affairs that were made for black audiences. The most successful black film producer of the first half of the 20th century was a former railway porter and novelist named Oscar Michaud. His Chicago-based Michaud Film Corporation, which operated from 1918 to 1940, produced over, wait for it, 44 films. But they gave us spike, right? And no offense, but there's a lineage to black film. So let's begin to say these people's names and make them the immortals that they are, and maybe make over some of their films.
Facts.
Michaud's most important film was Within Our Gates, 1920, an uncompromising look at racial attitudes and prejudices amongst both black and whites, and it included both a rape and a lynching. Okay? Racist cartoons. Radio, the most famous show of all was the Amos and Andy show. I mean, I want to read everything, but I can't. Mammy! Okay? Mammy is a source of earthy wisdom who is fiercely independent and Brooks, no back talk. I don't want to hear nothing, Medea. Although her image changed a little over the years, she was always a favorite of advertisers. You know, Mammy with the 2 elbows. Right? Don't you see her popping up on commercials? Don't you see her popping up on the WB? Don't you see her popping up on Medea's last, what is that, the funeral movie? All right. Uncle Tom. Toms are typically good, gentle, religious, and sober. Images of Uncle Tom's were another favorite of advertisers, and Uncle Ben is still being used to this day to sell rice. The wench, the Jezebel, the Temperess. During the minstrel era, wenches were typically a male and female garb. The wench was a male and female garb. You know, like they say, you gotta put a dress on in Hollywood. A buck, and I'm not talking about young buck, I'm sorry. The buck is a large black man who is proud, sometimes menacing, and always interested in white women. Shout out to Floyd. Is he out here with you? All right, I know. Here we have some images that just speak of, you know, the history that we're breaking down, so you have an idea, okay? This is this young lady, her before and after picture, where she decided that she wanted to be in blackface. This was being advertised, the Primos and West Big Minstrels, our colossal double. So they had minstrel companies that would go out and do these shows. We're in Vegas, the home of entertainment. Facts. Okay? So some more images of the, you know, of what these minstrel things that we see throughout history. But just recently, Gucci came out in a fashion show with the minstrel. Now, we saw the minstrel turtleneck, but y'all didn't know that they was killing it with the minstrel mask. This the ski mask in case you get cold, like, you know what I'm talking about? In case that snowstorm was gonna get real rough out here, you could have went to Gucci and ordered the minstrel mask right at Caesar's Palace. They had the mask for you right there to protect you, right? To wear with your turtleneck to protect you there. Okay? So they got the pickaninny, right? The pickaninny has bulging. Oh, my bad. It's coming from me. I was like, it's over, y'all. It's been nice. Exit statement. We're gonna wrap this up early. The pickaninny have bulging eyes, unkempt hair, red lips, and wide mouths into which they stuff huge slices of watermelon. Mulatto. A mixed blood, male or female in film, often portrayed as a tragic figure who either intentionally or unintentionally passes for white until they discover they have Negro blood or are discovered by another character to be black. Who remembers the movie with Pinky? And I'm not talking about that Pinky. Pinky in the black and white movie. What was the name of the movie? Imitation of Life, right? Oh, Pinky was the movie where it was just Pinky. Now don't go on Google and try to look for it. Just put Pinky the movie back in the days. Blackface and minstrel shows, all right? Let's just give you the history. Blackface makeup was either a layer of burnt cork or a layer of cocoa butter or black grease paint. In the early years, exaggerated red lips were painted around their mouths like those of today's circus clowns. In later years, the lips were usually painted white or unpainted. Costumes were usually gaudy combinations of formal wear, swallowtail coats, striped trousers, and top hats. Minstrel show entertainment included imitating black music and dance and speaking in a plantation dialect. I'm going to read that again. Minstrel show entertainment included imitating black music and dance and speaking in a plantation dialect. The shows featured a variety of jokes, songs, dances, and skits that were based on the ugliest stereotypes of African American slaves. From 1840 to 1890, minstrel shows were the most popular form of entertainment in America.
Wow.
White audiences in the 19th century wouldn't accept real black entertainers on stage unless they performed in blackface. So you was already black.
Right.
You had to add more melanin to your melanin. Your melanin was popping, it had to be popping. Like now, put another layer of melanin on that. We need you to be super black. It come black. Yeah, black. One of the first blacks to perform in blackface for white audiences was the man who invented tap dancing, William Henry Lane, aka Master Juba. Lane's talent and skills were extraordinary, and eventually he became famous enough that he was able to perform in his own skin. So remember, we're talking about men and women who are super talented, blessed with rhythm and vibration, right? Being able to pick up on that beat that Blue Pill was talking about, this almost synonymous with our heartbeat, and we're able to wow audiences. How do you ridicule? How do you break up people like that? How do you take away from their greatness? You do blackface. They were not keeping up with the tap dancing while they were doing that. They were ridiculing the skills. It says it right there. He had extraordinary talent, but they would not allow him to perform unless he was ridiculing himself. They said that he broke through those barriers. He was so damn nice that they was like, you know what? Just put the burnt coal down. Just go out with your face. We don't want to make fun of you anymore. You're too great. But how do they take away from the way that we were bodying the game? They come up with this. And they do what? It's called satire. They do it to this day. Okay? Riff-raff is satire.
Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Tekashi 6ix9ine is satire.
Facts.
All right?
Blueface.
So, here you have a how-to blackface. Like, they got a tutorial for that shit. It's a blackface tutorial. You feel me? A DIY on blackface. It's a blackface DIY. I think this guy has a YouTube channel. He's doing big numbers.
Big numbers.
Okay? So blackface has a rich Jewish history. Okay? We have to get into that because of the particulars, because of the socio-political particulars of why Jewish men in the 1920s and the 1930s inside of the United States of America, when they were not in what is known as high-born society, they were not even considered white. The same way that the Irish and the Italian and other quote-unquote subservient European nationalities were looked down upon by the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant and people who were deemed as the blue bloods, right? You know, so these people in Hollywood, in this new industry called Hollywood that was being built up, were being built up by people who couldn't even come out and say their own name. How many Hollywood actors and actresses do you know have the last name Rosenberg, Goldstein, or Silverstein? To this day. If you look on the list, they all have to do what? Conform to become something that they may not have
Put on another face.
Okay? It started with blackface. But they also had little choice in the roles that they were offered. Until well into the 1950s, black male actors were limited to stereotypical roles. Coons, for example, Stepin Fetchit, Mantan Moreland, that's my last name, uncle, Willie Best, and Toms. The most famous were Bill Bojangles Robinson and Eddie Rochester Anderson. Likely the only film roles for black women were maids and mammies. And the most famous mammy of all was Hattie McDaniel, best known for her Oscar-winning role as Mammy in Gone with the Wind. Vaudeville was popular in the U.S. from the 1880s until the early 1930s and offered a more family-friendly atmosphere than the variety of shows that had come before, which catered mostly to rowdy working-class audiences. Vaudeville began at Tony Pastor's Opera House in New York's Bowery. By 1900, it had become a nationwide network of hundreds of theaters and was the dominant form of American mass entertainment. Each show has a variety of separate, unrelated acts, short plays, musicians, acrobats, animal acts, dancers, magicians, and comedy routines grouped together on a common bill. So we're in Vegas. I'm sure you're familiar with the vaudevilles because that's the lifeblood of this city. That's what you go over across the highway and go into the casinos. That's what they're performing, vaudeville. Okay? So, the most popular black stage performer of the early 1900s was a brilliant comedian named Burt Williams. He performed a coon stereotype in blackface he called the Jonah Man. Williams teamed up with George W. Walker and began billing themselves as the two real coons. They soon became one of the most successful comedy duos, while their act went from vaudeville to Broadway and evolved into full-scale musical comedy. Okay? That's the new ad for Gucci right there. Okay? Vaudeville, a type of entertainment popular chiefly in the U.S. in the early 20th century, featuring a mixture of specialty acts such as the burlesque comedy and song and dance. Okay? All right? The jazz singer. It took blackface to a wider national audience. Okay? This is from the article from the Jewish Week. This is not Red Pill being, quote unquote, you know, whatever. This is Red Pill giving you information that's open to the public. This is in the Jewish Week. And they said blackface has a rich Jewish history. A practice originated in the 1820s with white male performers portraying African American characters by applying burnt cork to their faces. White and black performers, including Burt Williams, the most prominent black entertainer. Okay? Jews performed the minstrelsy in the 1910s and the 1920s better and more than any other group in America. Jewish faces covered in cork were ambiguous. Okay? All coons look alike to me. That was a show. I'm just giving you some back. So now we were introduced to this whole blackface thing by the governor of Virginia. Somebody who's responsible for the lives of millions of people, both black, white, or whatever you want to call them. Okay? He was discovered in his yearbook. That's his yearbook picture right there. The second one with the Ku Klux Klan and a person in blackface. He had a whole press conference and said, you know what? When the yearbook came out, I didn't even look at it. I didn't even know that picture was on my page. That's not me. That was his second statement. The first statement, he just apologized and was like, I'm sorry for the incident. And then when everybody was calling for his resignation, right? Look at the people calling for it. Joe Biden. There is no place for racism in America. Governor Northam has lost all moral authority and should resign immediately. Justin Fairfax is the leader Virginia needs right now, right? That's the brother right there. He's the lieutenant governor. And if this guy steps down, he becomes the governor.
No, until they found out that he had.
Until they found out that he has.
Allegations.
Huh?
He had Me Too allegations.
He has Me Too allegations. So Eric Holder says, I have come to know Ralph Northam as a good, very decent man. I regretfully conclude that he does not now have the ability to effectively govern and effectively stand for the issues, moral and politically. The governor should resign. So you have an outcry. This took place on a weekend, right? Where people were calling for a sitting governor of a state that is very instrumental in this upcoming quote-unquote presidential race to step down. Not a mayor, a governor of Virginia. And look, this was in a medical school. This yearbook was a medical college, a military medical college, and they said inside of the yearbook is rampant with blackface, and this was from 1980. So inside of medical colleges where doctors are graduating, and when you look at the numbers of malpractice and things of that nature, these are doctors.
Like 400,000 deaths a year, they don't tell you.
Okay? So The school where these children, remember the Covington standoff? With the child on the steps of the MAGA hat and whatnot on the steps of the White House. They said the whole school racist from day one. So right during this thing for the call of the governor to step down, we wake up to this Gucci thing. Nobody talks about the governor anymore. All of the attention shifts over to Gucci. Gucci is not a political organization. They don't have control over the lives and the livelihoods of millions of Virginians. It's just a clothing line, okay? But everything shifted to them. This is the statement that they put out. Gucci deeply apologizes for the offense caused by the wool balaclava jumper. We can confirm that the item has been immediately removed from our online store in all physical stores. But it will be a collector's item on eBay. We consider diversity to be a fundamental value to be fully upheld respectfully and at the forefront of every decision we make. We are fully committed to increasing diversity throughout all our organizations and turning this incident into a powerful learning moment for the Gucci team and beyond. Because that shit is cut and paste. They took it from Starbucks. Starbucks put out the same statement. That was just cut and paste. Starbucks put out the same thing. H&M put out the same thing. You feel me? And they put out the same thing. All right? During Black History Month, they've been trolling black people. Okay? This brand is the premier brand of all of hip hop. Red Pill, I don't know about that Gucci. I can't afford that. Yeah, neither can I. I wear Poochie, right? But we're not talking to the everyday layman. I'm talking to the dope boy. I'm talking to the sex workers. I'm talking to the rappers. I'm talking to people who have, good paying jobs, who wouldn't mind dropping $5,000 on a Gator bag. Because Gucci has elevated itself beyond any brand in hip hop to sit at the top of hip hop. It's the premier brand that if you hop out, nigga, you made it. I can't hop out with my Old Navy on, act a fool. You know what I'm talking about? I'm not dripping in Banana Republic, But that Gucci speaks for you. Remember, like Blue Pill said, the emperor has no clothes. These people don't know who they are. So they identify with brands. We're a branded people. We're branded slaves. So we give our life, we take penitentiary chances to pull up in a brand. You gotta have a foreign. You gotta have a Gucci belt, right? You gotta have the gold shoes. Now, look, don't judge me, but now, this is a black designer, and the Africans sold this to me. You know what I'm talking about? So, but the brands that our people utilize to make them better than you are all external. Okay? And they were petrified. The rappers, low-key, were upset with Gucci that they were messing their closet up. Because they was like, damn, I done invested mad bread in this brand. Like, y'all need to stop messing up and you know what I mean? Apologize to these niggas so we can get back to this drip. I'm heavily invested in you niggas. Like, I'm not a stock owner. I'm not a stakeholder in any shares in your company though. But I got $1 million worth in my closet. I got a walk-in closet with your bags and your shoes. Whereas the shareholders and the stockholders didn't panic because I looked at the stock. It didn't budge. It's called the Kerry Group. It's not even Gucci. They have a parent company. It didn't budge because niggas stopped wearing Gucci and went and bought Yves Saint Laurent and it's owned by the same group. You feel me? And like I said, that turtleneck is a collector's item. The stocks go up. I'm serious. It's a collector's item. It's not going to depreciate in value because it's tied into controversy. But look how Gucci pays back hip hop by telling them, and this is why they would do a blackface sweater, and this is why they're giving black people the middle finger. This is why high luxury brands don't need your money anymore. France's Kering, that's the parent company of Gucci, they're a behemoth, offered up a bullish view of the Chinese market and said its star brand Gucci started 2019 on a good footing in what is already shaping up to be a year of contrasting fortunes across the luxury good industry. Along with Louis Vuitton owner LVMH, the Paris-based conglomerate defied fears of cooling demand for high-end handbags and fashion in China as the economic backdrop soured in the fourth quarter. Kering shares reversed earlier losses and were up 2.8% by 12:30 on Tuesday after the firm said favorable trends at Gucci, which accounts for over 80% of its operating income, has stretched into January. They're showing you their Achilles heel. It's a good start to the year for Gucci, very good, in line with the trends seen in the fourth quarter. Kering's chairman and chief executive Francois Henry Pinault, the son of the group's founder, told a news conference, in terms of the momentum with Chinese clients, it's very strong. Chinese shoppers made up over a third of global demand for luxury goods, but shifting spending patterns are hitting some company more than others, with purchases increasingly repatriated to mainland China, in part due to a weaker yuan. Now, let me ask you a question. How many Chinese dudes are walking down the strip dripping in Gucci? I don't know about it. How many Chinese hip-hop videos these Negroes are Gucci down? Chinese shoppers power Gucci sales growth. So they're not even talking about your dollar. They're not even factoring in the fact that you made Gucci what it was. But here it goes, a whole article contradiction everything that they just said about China. So they're pitching to China, not to you. But look, millennials and teens are making Gucci cool again. Here's how the brand nearly doubled its sales in 2018. So that's the article for 18, but this was the article for 19. Gucci started out 19 on a good leg. They started out on a good leg and reversed the fact that they were down because the millennials and goddamn Gucci gang was out. Teens and millennials are obsessed with Gucci's. We find out why they love it. So they know that you're in love with them. They got the receipts to prove it. They know about the subcultures. They know that they're part of pop culture, but they don't necessarily respect your dollar. They pitch into China because it's a more quote-unquote booming economy.
Facts.
They are seeing...
Their middle class is growing. They're the only middle class that's potentially growing in the world.
In the developing world.
They know that the dollar is devalued and they're eliminating the middle class. So they can't factor in trap dollars for sales.
The dope dollars don't factor in at Gucci.
They can't factor in
singles. They got 800,000 singles to get a bag and whatnot. They're like, this is not going to last for long. This is a more loyal customer. Right? The people in Dubai and whatnot, their millennials are stepping into wealth. The Asians are stepping into wealth. They're considered a loyal customer. Let's go ahead and put the middle finger out and let's blow a dog whistle. Fashion does the same thing that entertainment and media does. Keep that in mind. Right?
Politics.
Okay? So we've had blackface throughout a lot of times. All right? I did a video with Brother Rich on Black Magic 363, and I made a statement that I said that there's not, situations of blackface around the world. And I have to take that back because in Sweden, you have a celebration that takes place. It also goes down in Spain, right? Where they celebrate what is known as Swartz Pete, okay, who is the sidekick of Saint Nicholas, who you know commonly as Santa Claus, all right? Black Pete exposes the Netherlands' problem with race. White people dressing up as fools with black faces is not to be harmless Christmas fun that the Dutch made it out to be. So here we go celebrating Christmas, not knowing the history of Christmas. Now they say it's harmless. It's just a fool in blackface with red lips. You know, look, we're happy. It's all good. Look how deep they are. Okay? Look how they come out. Now, if anybody knows the history about the Moors in Spain, if anybody knows the history about the relationship of black African, West Africans, North Africans, and Arabs, and people who look just like that with red feathers on their heads, then you know that this celebration of the three kings, this is a celebration of the ousting and the defeat of a whole race of people who they later on enslaved and then gave the titles of black, Negro, and colored to. Okay? So this is a reinforcement. This is called a ritual. It's not a celebration. They got reason to smile about a lot of things. It's not a celebration, it's a ritual. And you have people who live over there who look like me and you. And they with the shits, they like, nah, you're gonna stop doing that. Not in our face. Not with the history that the Netherlands have in slavery. Not with the history that the Dutch and the Swedish and whatnot have in the Congo. So here they are protesting, letting their voice be known that this is not cool. That we can't, you know what I'm saying? We can't make this thing a tradition anymore. So there's resistance. All right, who remembers the H&M controversy? You have to understand that racism sells. Who showed you this? There's nobody that showed you that racism sells like Mayweather. Remember him and the Irish dude? What's his name? Didn't the fight take place right here? Yeah. Did you not feel the tension in the air? Remember his press junkets with Conor McGregor? Conor McGregor was trolling him. Conor McGregor was strumming the racist button. He was pushing, he was triggering, he was pressing his trigger. Huh?
He was playing the race card.
He was playing a race card. They monetized the race card and walked away with millions. How long do we have? Huh? Okay. All right? This is not rare. Do not become emotionally invested to what the media is trying to do to you. Do not stop running, oh, I'm angry at Gucci, I'm surprised that you're surprised. Okay? They keep pushing buttons and whatnot. Like I said, we got better things to be focusing on. Like how powerful our culture is. Like how rich we are just because. Now look at what they did with Nike. They put Allah on the goddamn bubble and whatnot so you could walk on the word Allah. This is recently. But look at what they did, what Negroes can't do. The word air, written in flaming letters, has sparked a protest by Muslims who complained the logo resembled the Arabic word for Allah or God. The Council on American Islamic Relations threatened a global Nike boycott. Nike apologized and recalled 38,000 pairs of shoes and discontinued the line. Those two are collector items. We discontinued it, but we got 38,000 sneakers for eBay in about 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Right? Now, and then Burberry wanted to get in on the action, so they came out with a noose turtleneck right around the time of Juicy Smollett's allegations that he got tied up and whatnot. Yeah, we gonna cook your boy Juicy in a few minutes. Yeah, prepare yourself and strap in. Yeah, Juicy gets cooked in Vegas. Yeah, we're not letting that one fly by. Okay? So this is Prada. After you paid that mortgage, you skipped the car note, you was like, you know what? I need them Prada slippers. Like, they gonna have to catch up to me. There's somebody on Skid Row right now with some old Prada sneakers. Like, damn, I wish I didn't skip the mortgage on these Prada boots. Now look at me. And I'm not making fun. I'm just saying, like, we put so much in these brands. Not just money, but self-worth. We put them above us. Don't even know who they are. It's just a logo. You know what I'm saying? Don't even know don't know nothing about them. Multi-billionaire owner of luxury jewelers Cartier says the thought of the poor rising up and overthrowing the rich keeps him awake at night. This nigga's hiding this article. They don't want that to come out because they would have to give up the Cartiers. You know what I'm saying? They don't want y'all to know about this one. You feel me? So this eyewear is synonymous with ghetto America. Everybody's wearing a pair of Cardis. What do they call them? The buffs.
Buff. We got on Bartiers.
Oh yeah, I got Bartier Barties on. For your information. Once again, like I said, I buy all my designer from Africans. You know what I'm saying? I don't walk into, I don't worry about none of that. So none of that offends me. We on the wave where we making our own stuff 10 years ago. We happy that the family is catching up. Here we go. Right here where we talk about somebody who was so talented, so gifted, so much of a visionary that he added billion-dollar valuations to already billion-dollar companies. That man is Dapper Dan. Dapper Dan created the outfit of hip-hop. Dapper Dan upgraded, like if we would remember Spider-Man when he first started out, when he was wrestling and whatnot, he sewed together some shit. But then he got the real Spidey uniform, and then later on Iron Man upgraded him with the wings and whatnot. That's what Dapper Dan did to the rappers. Uniforms are a level of uniformities. Wardrobes have the active word war in it. You gotta get your threads together. And in hip hop, nothing signified stepping into wealth or stepping into the riches or nigga we made it than a Dapper Dan suit. We didn't have anything else to basically identify that we made it. Frank Lucas blew it up with the chinchillas at the fight. So they wasn't wearing the furs like that. They were jumping on the Dapper Dan. So the Gucci, he was taking the brands and he was making his own twist on these brands. They call monograms. LV, GG, MCM, FF. These are all monograms, 2 letters. So Dapper Dan is DD, right? So here he is. Now, Gucci basically bankrupted him. They sunk him. They kicked down his door, took everything, had him living in goddamn poverty. Later on down the line, he finds out that Gucci is I think it was Louis or Gucci, they were bootlegging his designs, right? They were doing what Nike is doing with the Jordans. They were retroing, being, going ahead using fashion to dig up an old energy and revive that. So they wind up chopping it up. Now they hire him. Now he works for them.
He's the ambassador.
He worked against them before. Now he works for them.
He's the brand
So
ambassador.
he's the brand ambassador for Gucci for black people now. So when the blackface thing broke, he put out a statement, right? He was upset. Okay, this was his initial statement. Let me see his initial statement. His initial statement was, I'm a black man and I'm upset, okay? You can't do this to us, you're gonna have to pay for what you did. Then he put out a statement that said the meeting is over, it's time for Gucci to announce how they plan to make amends for what they did. We had some of the best minds from the corporate world participating and experts in inclusivity and accountability. 90% people of color. Now, people of color is ambiguous. I could be a European with a black tattoo. I am now a person of color. Because I got color on me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the hell a people of color is. So 50 Cent started bombing on him, calling him a coon and whatnot. You know what I mean? And, basically, he's been ridiculed by a lot of people for, not speaking up. Basically just, selling out. Like, he let me down. I look up to that man. He's an icon. When I say an icon, He is a living legend, bar none. Words can't explain his legacy, but as a result of a mistake that Gucci made, his legacy is now smeared. He ain't even have nothing to do with it. Now, this is a product shot of my line, whereas we could talk about what Gucci is doing and what other brands are doing, but what I'm saying is this. I didn't have to go to fashion school to know that what we have to do is begin to take our own cotton back. It took me going to that magic show right there to see that there was a way. I went there as a stylist. I was checking out all of the brands and whatnot. Then I went downstairs and I met the good people at Alibaba. Changed my life forever. They were a small upstart back then. This was 03. I went in 2000 and then I went back in 03. I met Alibaba. Do you know what Alibaba is? Alibaba is what Frank Lucas went to meet in Southeast Asia. The plug. You understand? Everybody else is the middleman. Gucci is the middleman. China's the plug. Or Alibaba's the plug. So what China is going to do is China's going to go to Alibaba and have them make a prototype of a bag, ship it back to Gucci. They're going to put their name on it. They're the middleman. Now they go right to consumer. They up the price 300%, and you paying $5,000 for a crocodile bag. This ain't even crocodile. It's spun plastic with breaks in it that look like crocodile skin. Because the Chinese are making plastic rice. How about that? They can do anything. You feel me? I guess eating squids and whatnot has its plus. This is another brand, Ra Omar. I'm just giving you options. I'm letting you know that there's brands out here that are willing, because Gucci and them started out small. Polo Ralph Lauren started out small. You know what I'm saying? We got to start from somewhere. But I don't want to have no more conversations about these brands that don't got no allegiance whatsoever to anything that we about. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to push the narrative because I want the influencers to feel the heat. I want the influencers to pledge allegiance to this movement. I want the influencers to wake up and just get it. And I want to shame them to come amongst us trying to act like they doing something. Where's your black designers at, bro? What young child in your neighborhood are you investing in? What startup are you investing in? Don't talk about how much you blew at the club or in Caesar's Palace, because that shit ain't doing nothing for us. All right? So we're here in Las Vegas, like I said about the magic show. This is the land of conventions. All right? Let's talk solutions now. Let's say that there are people in this audience. There are people who are not in this audience, but you might know those people. These people are very resourceful. Why do I say that? Because they're plugged into the convention industry. You could just wake up and drive down to the strip and put a badge on and go into a convention. Do you know what's being brokered at these conventions? Do you know how many bags is passing through Las Vegas on a daily basis? No got nothing to do with Las Vegas. It's going everywhere else, but this is the meeting spot. What happens at trade show? People are trading. What's the lifeblood of our people from day one? We've been traders. We're merchants. We're merchant people. Anywhere that you go. Kemet, Moors. Where else? You know what I'm saying? All of the dynasties, all of the empires, even when you get to over here, the tribes were traders.
Right, when they talk about indigenous Africans that made their way over here, any indigenous African presence that was over here, it was for trading. It was for mercantilism. You know what I'm saying? When they came into South America, when they came into North America, it was all for trading. Everything was for trading. Even when the European came over here, he came trapping. He came trapping fur. And he claimed that he was searching for the spices or what have you. That was for mercantilism. That was for trade.
So my question to the family would be this. What's more dangerous? Gucci, giving us blackface, or Riff Raff giving you blackface? Tekashi 6ix9ine giving you blackface. Somebody who infiltrated the gangs and he's gonna be the Achilles heel to gang culture every single place. Hip hop is being monitored by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Everybody running around thinking this is a gang thing and this is about having streams on Spotify. You're gonna learn the hard way. Rico and all kind of stuff is coming for a whole bunch of people. He broke the industry. This one right here, he's like Wreck-It Ralph, breaks the internet. He's a virus. He showed the weakness. He exposed the fallacies of the gangs. Lil Xan, Post Malone, Lil Peep, Riff Raff. These people are imitating you and making buffoons of you. This is satire. This is satire. All right? And the reason why we named it BLACKFACE and BLUEFACES is because the same plan that they use with Tekashi, they're using on this young brother right here. I don't have anything against the brother right there, but I see the same thing taking place. A gang member, right, who's backed by, somebody who has industry ties is planting him into stories, because I saw the PR campaign. I saw how people built them up and whatnot. But like I said, they got 2-year-olds who want to be Crips now. Prior to that, they wanted to be Bloods because of Cardi and Lil Wayne in them. Now they just want to be Crips. Or now they want to be this gang, and now they want to be that gang. And now they want to basically, just be any kind of caricature that these multi-billion-dollar companies are signing our people up to be, but they're not signing the intellects. They're not putting out the conscious people in front of you. They're not putting out people who are dripping in culture. All right? This culture right here has been checkmated. I'm sorry. I don't want to hurt nobody in the audience. But these cultures are basically being monitored and controlled. Somebody is pulling the strings on it. It's almost like when you call animals in a slaughterhouse. So I would love to go further in our presentation. We have a lot more that we wanted to get into and that we wanted to talk about, but the time is of essence and the time is running out. So we're going to take 2 or 3 questions from the audience. Then we will highly encourage the family to support the vendors that are outside. We brought out all of our clothing and whatnot all the way from New York. We got our album, we have our jewelry, we have a lot of things. But 2 things. 1, we want to take a group picture with everybody before we get out of here and make this history. 2, we want to make a proposition to the Las Vegas family, because we're not just cutting through here and getting out of here. We're planting seeds. And when you water those seeds grow. I want a residency in Vegas. All right? Okay. I want to get up here and dance like Bojangles for y'all. With this information, I want a residency. I want to come back at least once a month. Me and this man and the network of teachers that we have access to come and breathe life. Because I promise you, I'm in New York City. We do not have the facilities. We don't have the state-of-the-art facilities that you have. The reason why we are at where we're at with the information is because we had something called the National Black Theater, and we had Harlem 125th Street, a place where we just got together and socialized. That was the foundation of waking up the world, because the work that's been done on that, the same work that Malcolm did out there, the same work that Garvey did out there, that's the same work that these young brothers and sisters that are teaching have done out there in front of cameras, and it has reverberating effects around the world. I'm saying that on a whole nother coast, we could be doing that right here. Because in the audience, you got brothers and sisters who could be the light of your community. Amen. All right? So with that being said, love and light to the family. We have cards and whatnot. Like I said, you can find them Blue Pillar 44 on the social media sites. You can find me EL_Filthmore, or just put Red Pillar and Blue Pillar in Google or YouTube search engine. I got about 700 videos online. All right? All of it is cloth. It's all good information. We have about 700 episodes of our podcast on Know the Ledge Radio. We got the best of Dr. Sabi up there. We got Francis Cress Wilson, Dr. Delbert Blair. You name them. Umar before the school. Like early Umar. All of that. I'm just saying. We've been foundational in this community. Some people may have just heard of us, but we've been working behind the scenes and in front of the scenes for a very long time, and we have a long way to go. So love and light to the family. This will not be your last time seeing us. Thank you for your time and your patience.
If you guys have a few questions, we'll entertain them really quick, because what we're going to try to do is get the brothers outside. We can find out all the information. They got some products for us and some information. But if you have some questions, because recognizing this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. So I do apologize. I wish we had 4 hours. We'd have to start at 6 o'clock. But in any event, if you have some questions, we got an opportunity to talk to these two kings. Please step forward. Let's just speak loudly in this village. Anybody? Brother Maine standing up over there. You got a question? All right. Well, there you go. Just stand up.
How involved are you in ADOS?
Yes, say that again.
2020 ADOS.
Yes.
How involved are you guys?
Indeed. What we have to offer to tangibles and ADOS is something called FACTS 2020. That's an initiative that we started. The acronym stands for Food, Art, Clothing, Technology, and Shelter. And another part of that is also finances, arms, coding, technology, and strategy. Okay, so that's a think tank and also a networking, a membership site that we have developed. And we'll also have a book that's coming out as well.
Right.
And that's going to deal with that's dealing with the networks that we have access to, where brothers are in control of food, horticulture, right? Agriculture.
Right.
There's no culture besides agriculture. If we focus on producing as a people, anything that has production in it, production of food, production, post-production of content, right? Production of your music, meaning that you want to get into the aspect of production. You want to get into the aspects of reproduction, right? All of these things are going to put us back into power. If you do the research of when we have boom towns or when we have boom periods, it's wherever you found us, they were manufacturing. Detroit with the cars.
Facts.
Cleveland with the automotive industry. Manufacturing. Building. You're in a city that has conventions for all industries of manufacturing and production. At all different times.
Even the reason that the majority of the family is here is because your family's migrated here for production purposes. Even if they were participating with the workforce, they were still producing enough currency to support family. So that's what drives migrations. So the new, what we will say, the technological or the new economic boom that's afforded to our people right now, especially residents of this particular state, is the cannabis industry. But the cannabis industry is tripartite. It has 3 parts. So it's cannabis, it's hemp, and it's CBD, right? So a lot of people complain and say they can't break in the cannabis market because the regulations or what have you have been made in a way in which you can't necessarily slide in. But what about hemp? Right? Hemp has over 300 different industrial uses. Hemp literally qualifies the whole concept of food, clothing, and shelter. That's right? Because it's a food, it deals with clothing, and hempcrete, you can build your own shelter. So you can build a city in the desert out of hemp.
That's right.
You can go to these trade shows. Every aspect of what he talked about in his initiative, there's a convention that comes through this city in particular that gives you the keys to that. Where we get first, right? We get first dibs. So you can utilize that information at the spook set by the door with your personable, charismatic ways to talk to Muhammad and homies from Pakistan or homies from Bangladesh. They want to do business with you anyway. Well, they're like, where the hell have you been?
So,
you understand?
Yeah, so we're going to join, with our initiatives to fill in those tangibles. to link up with the ADOS. For the family who may not be familiar with that acronym, that's American Descendants of Slaves, African Descendants of Slaves. You know, so yeah, we're definitely open to building with those brothers.
And Tangible 2020s is making reference to the fact that there should be some sort of political platform that a quote-unquote candidate that is coming to quote-unquote Black America, Democrats in particular, if they're coming to you for your vote, and you're saying, well, this is the Black agenda, I want tangible results from in exchange for my votes, can we talk? Right. And when they turn your back and run the other way, like Cory Booker did, like Kamala Harris did, to say, why should we have a platform? The nigga vote is guaranteed. And they're like, well, it's a new day. You understand? Bring something to the table. Because even though, you know, these people over here is MAGA hatting and they might have snagged Kanye, you feel me? They're at least showing that there is an overture for our votes. Even if we might be compromising our integrity, at the end of the day, can I really look in the mirror and be proud of myself? If I'm pulling the lever for somebody who just smiled on my face anyway, because they got on all blue, saying that they for me, but nothing ever shows up, right? So Tangible 20 is an initiative where they're actually putting together a concrete platform in exchange for the votes that you can't even put a price tag on, because this is the most contested election that's coming forward. You know what I mean? Where they want to remove this man out of office, but it's going to be impossible to do it without the African or the quote-unquote Black vote. So there's no vote more valuable than your vote right now.
That's right.
You should be getting something out of it, if that's what you do.
So our next visit to Las Vegas, I personally, I'm going to be unveiling the Facts 2020 initiative. We're going to break it down. We're going to need at least 3 to 4 hours. And like Blue Pill said, we're looking for a think tank. We're looking for members. We want people to make moves everywhere in every state. We have to organize.
Right.
So
not on our behalf, but the fact that we have access to the networks. We have